Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is David Beeson, and I am your host for today's conversation. My guest today is Dan Melnick, the owner of Zing. We're going to be talking about his business, journey to business ownership, challenges, best practices, and share a peek of what it's really like to build and operate a business. Dan, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here today. Before we dig in, I'd love for you to give us a little bit of background on who you are and tell us a little bit about your business as well.
Yeah, sure. So I'm based here in Austin, Texas. I've been in Texas for 5.5 years. I grew up in the Chicago suburbs. But yeah, essentially been doing entrepreneurship for 15 years. Had an e-commerce store for a while. Sold that in 2020. Had an idea for a mobile app, which was not successful. But I met one of my current co-founders through that endeavor, and so that's kind of how we started Zing. We started off as a dev shop, and that's kind of what we still focus on today. Is Our first client, I was living in Dallas, was based here in Austin, and that company had raised about $15 million. So they were super happy with us, and that kind of validated my work, or like our work, I should say. And so yeah, like I was a consultant for several years. I left that. I was always just like I'm doing entrepreneurship on the side, but full time with Zing for 3 years, and we help people save money with AI development.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, before we kind of get into the business itself, tell us about the role you currently play in the day to day. Like, what's a typical week look like for you?
Yeah, so for me, I'm really focused on business development. So really, what that looks like is partnerships, sales, new business. Like partnerships are a big channel focus for us in 26. But yeah, I mean, I'll do anything from like often just hopping on calls, going to events, meetups. I mean, especially, here in Austin or just in general. I mean, I've gone to, Dallas, Houston, it's not too far. So going to events, meeting up with people, that's kind of what I'm focused on is how can I get in front of as many people as possible and kind of just show my face and, put the word out there, I should say.
Gotcha. This is always a fun question I like to ask business owners because every business owner, I think, has things that they struggle with that they do, things that they're great at. So, um, what is one part of the business that you wish that you weren't doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's like the sales side is something for sure that, like, I enjoy like the relationship building, but I think in terms of just like the sales part of it is not my favorite. Like, I don't, obviously as a founder, it's sort of important, especially in the early stage. But it's something I've learned, how to be better at. But it's always just, to me, it's just how much time can I spend and, how much value can I get out of whatever I'm doing. And I think, especially in this kind of industry and the agency world, the relationship definitely goes like a long way. The sales part is obviously part of that, but it just depends on the way it's framed and positioned, etc. So,
Yeah, it makes sense. So I know you kind of talked about it a little bit, but I kind of want to dive a little deeper with it. We kind of have the opportunity to talk to owners at every stage, sometimes brand new startups, all the way to 10-year veterans. So for the audience, can you give a little context on the current ownership structure? Is it currently still you and your business partner? Have you guys taken outside investments, or a board of executives, or is it kind of just like you now in a one-man band?
no, yeah. So I have two partners. I have one who lives in New York, Effie, who's kind of on the back end operations, client success side of things. And I have one partner in Pakistan who runs our software development agency. So he's the one who I work with way back when at my previous startup, the Workout Pros. And, I was his client and he helped build my app. So that's kind of how we partnered and started that business. But yeah, it's like the three of us are partners, no outside funding. We obviously have had some company credit cards, but besides that, like it's been our own money. So.
Awesome. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's awesome. So with there being three of y'all, how do decisions get made between y'all? Do y'all put it to a vote like with all three of y'all, or most of the time y'all are kind of like on the same page?
We are mostly on the same page. It, really just depends. Like I think for like Qasim, my Pakistani partner, typically does not like have as strong of an opinion on things, especially when it comes to business development, expenditures, things like that. So more so Effie and I will discuss. I mean, he's obviously involved in that process, but he's not. He's more technical. He's more so focused on leading our tech team and the development team. But yeah, I mean, we'll definitely come to a consensus anyway. I would say that we are aligned on most things, and but yeah, it's really just having conversations that we meet, every week at least, sometimes multiple times a week, just to go over finances, expenditures, where we're actually investing money, what's, bringing us the best ROI.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. Um, so every business owner I talk to is going through, something, a new season, a new challenge, a new level. What are you guys growing through right now, and what is that kind of demanding of you guys?
I mean, I think right now is just like our positioning, focusing more. 'Cause we do other services too, but like focusing for sure more on development, right? How can we, add more value there? It's more of our, it's the most profitable channel for us. And I think it's, we've done a great job. We've worked with many people like Noah Kagan from AppSumo, folks like that, some other large and well-known companies and brands. But yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing is like how do we maximize our strengths and get as much value out of our um, skill set and skill level as we can, right? So
Yeah.
uh because yeah, I mean there's obviously a lot of things that we can do, but it's like what are we really, besides I mean I think that we're good at other stuff like marketing, for example, but it's really just like what is the most profitable channel for us and how can we actually grow profitably this year. So yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I know. You use the word profitably. Have y'all been kind of just like scraping by the last couple years?
I would say our profitability is not what we would like it to be. I mean, I think it's not because we aren't profitable on projects. I think it's just more about over like it's kind of there's a book out there called Profit First that I just read,
Mm,
and so I think it's just kind of like using more of that framework. So I think many entrepreneurs that the second they get money in, that they want to spend that money, right? And
yeah,
so especially in the agency world, months differ from month to month and just business in general, right? So it's like you might have a month where you're doing X amount of revenue, and the next month you might be doing, half of that or something, right? And then you're spending like you had that same revenue in the first month where it might not be recurring and consistent. So because things
gotcha.
change. So it's more about what he talks about the model of the tube of toothpaste, right? Where you have like a small amount left and you're going to do as much as you can to squeeze that toothpaste out of it. So it's the same exact concept in my mind about how can we be as resourceful as possible to actually maximize the resources that we have in front of us. It's very easy to spend a lot of money. There's always, a lot of people that are trying to sell you this, that, and the other and say, oh, I can help you, whatever. But it's better to kind of say, hey, listen, like, how do we actually, where does it actually make the most sense to make an investment? So,
Yeah, I've always said it's a lot easier to swipe a card than it is to put the money in a savings account.
yeah.
It's always easier to be like, oh, well, I could pull it out right now and go spend it real quick, rather than actually having the discipline to keep it put away, you know?
Yeah, that's something he talks about in the book too, is like just take pride in like saving your money. So,
Yeah. Um, awesome. Well, let's fast forward a little bit. Where do you see the business in 3 to 5 years?
yeah, I mean, like we're in a very interesting place and interesting time. We are working in an industry that is changing minute by minute, day by day, right? So with AI, things are changing a lot. I think with AI, it's never been easier to build your own software, but the caveat is, how much time is that going to take you? Like, do you, people say, oh, that you might not need developers, but it's like anything. I mean, I can go and design a logo, but how good am I going to be at that? It could be decent,
Yeah.
but I'd rather, hire someone that's an expert than being kind of halfway good at a bunch of different things. So it's kind of this like, time versus money equation. Do you really have enough time? Do you want to spend the time to do, go and build this? Once again, you can maybe figure it out, but it's, yeah, you still need developers. I think with AI development, which we are very AI forward, we use OpenClaw, Claude Cursor, etc. But you still need to have devs to have like the improper architecture, because it's just, and people can, once again, they can maybe like figure it out. But the problem with AI development, at least right now, for something that for actual development might be one or two lines of code, AI will spit out hundreds of lines of code. And then
Yeah.
you have a bug, and you're like, okay, well, where is that bug? There's so much code, and you're like, it becomes this loop, and over and over, you get stuck in these loops. So I think, in 5 years, the business will be changing. I don't know exactly how, but But yeah, there's definitely lots of big change happening when it comes to development. So
Yeah, I've noticed what you said about AI with the bug where it kind of gets caught in these own like loops a lot and things like that with the
yeah,
AI just because like I don't know, I think AI is great, but I think we're still kind of like two steps away from it being like fantastic. You know what I mean?
exactly. Yeah.
Like you kind of get stuck in these things where like you're like I need you to tell me this, but for some reason you keep telling me this other thing and I don't need that. I need this. And it's like sit there for like 45 minutes trying to just figure out how to get it to do the
Y-
correct thing.
Yeah, I think it's part of it. I think also is the cost, right? Because it definitely can be cheaper, but you have to know what you're doing. I mean, I saw somebody made a post on LinkedIn yesterday where a founder was spending, I think, $40,000 in a month on Claude
Wow.
credits, so because they just like were running these like, all of these like APIs and they're running like these sequences and they kind of like left it on. And next thing you know, like it's just Bill, it's only going to be $40,000. It's just like, and they were doing maybe 10K a month in revenue. So, yeah, it's definitely not a good situation there. So I think it's just, there's kind of this balance of like AI, how much you use it, how cost effective it actually is, because besides the fact that it can get expensive quickly, I mean, it's going to be even more expensive because a lot of these companies have been subsidized one way or another by government. They're subsidizing like their prices. They're really not as cheap as they make it sound to run their, servers and data centers and machines. So yeah, I think that there might be some, there for sure will be some kind of bounce back from that. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, and like in 5 years, with all the changes to AI and like where you see the business going, do y'all see yourselves like growing a lot? Like, do you guys want to like expand, grow more of the team, things like that?
I mean, I think, like one conversation that we are having internally is maybe selling, but it really just depends on where we
Mhm.
get to and what makes sense. I mean, it gets hard to say, right? I mean, it's one of those things where I had a conversation with somebody else last, I think it was 2 days ago, and they were saying they had a business owner that they knew that wanted to sell, and then they got to a point where like, hey, I'm making this much money, and like, my work is not so much. Like, why would I sell, right? So it's like
Yeah.
that could be the case with AI development. It's really hard to say. I don't know what the future holds, but I think it's not off the table for sure. It really just depends on where we're kind of at and what might make sense.
Gotcha. And when you look at the gap between today and that 5 year picture of potentially selling and things like that, what is currently your biggest obstacle, you'd say? Is it the sales process like we've talked about, or is it the AI process? What would you say is the biggest obstacle currently?
Um, I mean, there's several things. I mean, I think, you know, yeah, I mean, there's obviously external factors out of our control just because of the industry that we're in. I think margins might shrink over time because just the way people are seeing, hey, like you're using AI, why are you charging so much? That could be something. I mean, I think, yeah, there's several things. I think sales, partnerships, I really don't know. I think obviously we need to grow and we need EBITDA to be at a certain number for it to make sense and be attractive for buyers. But I think, yeah, there's definitely several factors.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And whenever you get to that point, that 5 year goal that you currently have, how do you feel like it, in what way does it look for you, like outside of the business? Like what goals do you also have in line for yourself? Because I think as a business owner, there's things that are important for, you to maintain, family life, friend life, working out, things like that. What's kind of like your personal 5 year goal, I guess? I always like to ask business owners that stuff.
I mean, I think the biggest thing for me personally is I just want to keep building. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
we're launching a different business besides Zing, which is going to be to supplement brand. We've done like a lot in e-commerce over the years, so just kind of why we're building like our own supplement brand. So that's going to be coming soon, Q4. So to me, it's more so, how can I build something like really, scalable? I want to build a $1 billion company, and I know that with Zing, it's probably not going to happen. I think it can be like a nice business, but I'm realistic in terms of how we're structured. But I think with Avira, our supplement brand, for sure, it's definitely possible. I think there's a lot of really nice valuations happening in that space, and we understand that space very well. But yeah, it's an interesting time, I think, across different kinds of businesses. But that's the biggest focus for me right now.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that answer. All right. So as we're kind of getting to the wrap up point, I do have a couple rapid fire questions for you if you're
Sure,
ready.
go for it.
What what is the key to success for you?
Key to success is just growth. I mean, adding value and, growing our business. So
Awesome. And what's one piece of advice you have for other business owners?
the biggest piece of advice is, I've learned this more recently is like really focus on profitability. I think it's something that's understated, and I think a lot of people are in my shoes and a lot of companies go under because they are just focused on growth at all costs, which I think growth is obviously important. Like, listen, if you raise a lot of VC money, if you're a tech company in the AI space, fine, maybe, obviously your investors have different ideas for you, but for 99% of businesses, profitability should be the most important factor. And it allows you to really grow and think strategically because if you just focus on growth and without looking at profit, you are, once again, very easy to spend a bunch of money and you're not going to reach the goal that you want to reach. So just be very mindful of that for sure.
Awesome. And then I know you mentioned a book earlier, but what's a good book or podcast you're reading or listening to right now?
Well, I just finished Profit First that I spoke about, but I'm reading Michael Dell's biography. So Play Nice but Win Win. One of my friends have recommended it to me. Obviously, also being in Austin. But yeah, that's the one that I'm reading right now.
Awesome. And this is always a fun question that I love to ask. If you had a little bit of magic dust and you could choose one spot in your business to sprinkle it, everything there would be perfect. You didn't have to worry about it anymore. Where would it be and why?
For sure, sales, like I said. I mean, I think for me, it's just speaking of books, I have like on my desk, Buy Back Your Time. I think by Dan Martell is a great book, and I think just like that concept of how do I focus more on the bigger picture stuff and less about you know, sitting on sales calls. But yeah, that's kind of what my number one focus is like how do I actually, add as much value there. So
Awesome. Yeah. Well, before we get to the final question of the day, would you like to share with our audience how they can learn more about you guys, follow y'all, get in touch?
yeah, you can just find me on LinkedIn or any social media, Dan P. Melnick on LinkedIn, Instagram, X, and just reach out to me there.
Awesome. Well, here's the final question of the day, and that is what is most inspiring to you today?
I have somebody who I'm friendly with. He's a founder. His name is Thomas Gorney, who I met a few years back in Dallas, and just like, he's been very inspirational to me, just seeing his story, what he's been able to accomplish. He sold his company for $1 billion, is, runs like a different business now doing about $600-700 million. So I think just, he came to this country with nothing. So I think that just hearing his story for sure, and he's like a regular, normal dude. You would never know that he's like a billionaire, but I think it's just seeing people like that is super inspiring, just knowing kind of what's possible in this world. And yeah, I mean, I think just the ability to think ahead and work hard and yeah, I mean, just kind of what it takes to get to that level. So, of
Awesome. All right, Dan. Well, this was a great conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your story. To everyone watching,
course,
save this show, come back and watch it again because Dan drops some real insight. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you get notified every time a new conversation drops, just like this one. Thank you to all of you, and a special thanks to you, Dan, for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
thank you.
And I will see you all in the next episode.